Hello everyone, and today we're going to be talking about the Mini Jet wine filter, which is a filter used to filter wine to get sparkling results in your end products and your end wines. This wine filter has a pump, which is the black piece you see in the picture, that you have a hose, and you would hook that hose up to one side of the pump, and the other side of the pump there's a little tube that comes out, and the tube gets connected up to the filter portion, a couple of plates that you can sandwich 3 filters or filter pads between those plates to filter the wine, where it gets forced through the filters and it comes out the top section where you would hook up another tube. The sets of pads come in 3 different styles or filtering. There is a number 1, which is a coarse filter, a number 2, which is a medium filter, and a number 3, which is an ultra-fine filter. Each one of these packages in itself has 3 different pads, and each time you do a filter you would need to use each or all 3 of the pads and sandwich them in between the filter plates. The pump comes with a number of different hoses, 3 of them. One of them is for the intake, where you would put into your carboy that you are going to be taking wine out of. And that's the one with the cap on the end. It also has a stainless steel rod in it that keeps the tube straight as you're pushing it into the carboy. There is another tube that gets hooked up to the outtake, and the one that gets hooked up to the outtake goes into your receiving vessel, whether it be a bucket or whether it be another carboy. And there's also another tube that hooks up to an overflow tray, and that can be fed back to the first carboy that you're filtering or into the other one that you're filtering into. In this picture you're able to see the overflow tray that is underneath the filters, and that's where that tube would connect to. Again, the filters come in 3 different levels of filtering, and each bag has 3 filters in it, and you need to use all 3 every time you filter, and you throw them out afterwards. One of the things I found out about this particular wine filter is that it needs to be lubricated and serviced from time to time. When I bought mine, it needed to be serviced right out of the box because it was probably sitting on a shelf for a period of time and needed to be lubricated. And the analogy that the owner of the company that makes this gave me is that if you left your car for 6 months and didn't use it, you probably would need to jump start it or to get an oil change or something like that. Well, it's the same type of thing with this, is you need to lubricate it. So there are some directions on the website, but they were kind of a little bit more difficult to follow. So what I decided to do was to make a video of how to lubricate your Mini Jet wine filter. And I'm going to take you through it step by step. Alright, so the very first thing you need to do is take the 4 screws off this black cover of the pump. You can see I've taken the screws off, I've loosened them here, and what I'm going to do is take that top off and set it aside. After you take the top off and set it aside, you'll see this piece on the inside that looks like a upside down top hat. I'm going to take that part out and put it aside exactly how it was. It has a bottom part, a spring, and a plastic upside down part that looks like a hat. I recommend taking pictures along the way so you could remember how things went to put them back together again. Alright, so the next part underneath that is this rubber seal, and you have to be really careful with this, where you take a little either a knife or a jeweler's screwdriver, a small flathead screwdriver. Just cut underneath the edge of it, and here's my little screwdriver. Take it out and put it to the side. Underneath that is this metal disc that's oval shaped. I kind of take that out the same way, and set it aside. When I'm setting the parts aside, I'm putting them aside pretty much the same way I got them out. Okay, now underneath that metal disc is this piece that looks like an 8, the number 8. You have to be really careful when you take this out, they tell you. Make sure you put it back later exactly the way you got it out. So I'm taking it out and I'm putting it aside exactly the same way I took it out, face up in the directionality that I've taken it out. I'm using a needle nose to do that. Alright, so I'm going to set that aside the way I took it out, and underneath that is these gears. You have a top gear with a notch in it and a bottom gear without a notch. You got to take the bottom gear out first. What I did is I used a little screwdriver to help get it out and pull it out. And then I'm going to take the top gear out the same way, and I put that aside. Right after taking out the other gear, you'll see that there's some moisture underneath. I'm going to take out both gears and put them aside the way I found them, but I'm going to then clean up that moisture that you see that's underneath there. Alright, so I'm going to be using some standard petroleum jelly to lubricate the parts that we're going to be putting back. All these directions you can find on their website, but I'm going to be showing you step by step what I did. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that top gear, which is the one that has a notch in it, goes on the notched shaft, and I'm going to put some petroleum jelly on the bottom edge. That's the side that was face down, the whole bottom I'm going to coat with the petroleum jelly. Now the directions also say to put a little bit of it in between the teeth. I would recommend against putting it in between the teeth, or if you do, just do it very little bit in between the teeth. And after you're done with that, you're going to put it face down back into the chamber where the slot is, and make sure it goes all the way down to the bottom. After you're done with that, you're going to do the same thing to the other gear. You're going to coat the bottom of that one. Now you see I might have put a little bit too much of that petroleum jelly here. So you're going to basically coat the bottom of it, and be careful you don't put as much in between the teeth as I did here, and put it back down into the chamber. Make sure that you push these all the way down. They need to be all the way to the back of the chamber. Now you don't want to end up with too much of the petroleum jelly in the notches on the side. That's why I said don't put too much in between the teeth, because you don't want to push that through the pump into the little tube that's on the side, the outlet. Okay, so the next step is to take the figure 8 part on the bottom side of that. You need to coat that as well, like I did here. Now again, when you put this in, it needs to go in exactly the same way it came out, so be careful not to mix up the top and bottom and all that. Put it back in exactly the way you found it. So I'm going to coat the bottom of that, and I'm going to put it back in the chamber same way I found it, on top of the 2 gears with the shafts. And there it is in the chamber. The next thing that we're going to need to do is to coat the edges of the figure 8 with the petroleum jelly as well, and the little holes where the shafts are, just like you see here, being extra super careful not to get it into the notches on the side. Alright, after you've done a good job lubing that up, you put the metal plate back on. It'll fit in an indentation where you're taking it out from, and make sure that's sitting nice and flat. And on top of that, you're going to put that rubber gasket exactly the same way that you took it out. And that rubber gasket, you want to make sure that it's not damaged in any way, that you were really careful with it, taking it in and out, and make sure that it's sitting down nice and snug before you put this top hat assembly, the spring and the little plastic pieces back together exactly the same way you found them when you took them out. Alright, you're almost done. The next thing you're going to do is put the top cover back on, and we're going to screw those down, the 4 screws, being careful not to over tighten it, and You just want to take some care not to, hammer it down too hard, but you want to make a good seal here. So you want to tighten that down really good, and but not too tight where it strips out the screws. Right, you can see it tightened down here. And at this point, we're just about done. What we need to do is run some water through it to test it out. So you are going to hook up your hose to the inlet, take a couple gallons of water, and pump it through the pump to make sure that it's working okay, and you should be good. Alright, so that's the whole service, and you should be able to pump water through, wind through the pump, and see that it works. If you didn't put too much of the petroleum jelly on, you should not find problems where the petroleum jelly makes it into that little tube on the outtake of the pump. If it does get in there, all you have to do is either flush it through or take that little tube off. It's a little hard because it got a clip on there, and clean it out from that side. But this is something that you'll have to do periodically. The reason why I had to do it with the machine out of the box is because it didn't really pull the wine up into the pump. And asking some questions to see if some other people were having similar issues, the owner of the company, or one of the people that works for this company, basically explained that it needs to be lubricated. So I figured, since there wasn't a good video out there to show people how to do it, I would videotape my experience and show you guys how I did it. After doing that, the pump works much better. It rips the wine up from a carboy, sucks it right up, and pulls it through the pump very easy. So it made a huge difference in the performance. And again, this is something that may need to be done from time to time. If you find you're not getting the pump to pull the wine up on its own, you might want to consider doing this from time to time. So I'm hoping that this video is helpful, to any of you guys that need it. And awesome. Have fun with your wine filter. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my video channel here on YouTube, and check out my blog at www.cooking-italian-recipes.com for great Italian recipes, tips on organic gardening, winemaking, and herbalism, and all other kind of fun stuff that I'm into. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, tell your friends. Take care.